raise the roof with today's Disney World recipe. After a fun-filled evening at the Hoop-Dee-Doo Revue, the strawberry shortcake is the perfect bookend for the Pioneer Hall Players' wonderful show. And the thing is, the magic of this dessert is a lot easier to recreate than you think.
Every smile, a spark of light, a tale we'll always share. Magic in the air tonight, it's everywhere.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalie, and this is Disney Recipes at Home, the show where we recreate your favorite parks, snack, meals, desserts, all from the comfort of your home until we get to see Mickey real soon. Strawberry shortcake is a classic Southern dessert with an impressive resume. And you can find it across several spots at Disney, including at Garden Grill at Epcot, Beaches and Cream over at Beach Club Resort, and you can even get it next to the Pioneer Hall at Trails Inn Restaurant. But the Hoop-Dee-Doo version is unique in its own way because it's not a traditional biscuit-style shortcake. It is a dense, ultra-rich yellow pound cake using macerated strawberries and classic whipped cream both in and on top of the dessert. To get some of this, it can cost around $75 to $80 for admission. Now, granted, it is the cost for a dinner and a show, but that is still a lot of money. And even its cousins at the other places still cost about $9. Today we're gonna make a whole pan for the whole family, less than $20. So let's get cooking. First, cut up some strawberries and place them in a bowl and add a 1/4 cup of sugar to macerate them. Frozen strawberries worked too. Stir it up and stick them in the fridge until the very end. Then we'll preheat our oven to 350. To make the cake, we're going to start with a bowl, a mixing bowl, a bowl that we're going to mix up the ingredients with. To start off with, we're going to need some flour. This is cake flour. We're going to add 2½ cups of cake flour. If all you have is all-purpose flour, use 2½ cups of flour minus 5 tablespoons, and then replace those tablespoons with cornstarch to get it close enough. So then we're going to need 2½ cups of granulated sugar. So literally the same amount of flour as the sugar. That is a lot of sugar. Well, it's a cake. What did you think? It's going to be healthy or something? It was at this point that I remembered, since I'm mixing these ingredients in a bowl, I'm probably going to need the mixer. Man, I didn't want to waste dishes. Here's old Betsy. You might want to check and make sure it's turned on. So, we'll just transfer those ingredients from one bowl to the other so I don't make a mess. It was at that moment when I realized that I probably should have read the recipe a little bit better. Oh, fine job! We have to sift it! Since we're going to do that, now let's add the rest of our dry ingredients. Now yet again, we don't have nutmeg. So, the apple pie seasoning it is. To our flour and sugar, we're going to add a pinch of apple pie spice, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, it's time to sift it into our grater bowl. Now to add in our wets. First, we'll grab a stick and a half of butter into 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening. Well, it is a cake. What do you think? It's going to be healthy or something? Next, we'll add a cup of milk and begin mixing. Next, you'll add 6 large eggs, or in our case, 7 medium eggs. Finally, we'll add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. Now, this is very special and a very important ingredient if you don't have it. This is what is going to make it Disney. Almond extract. We're gonna strong. Then we're gonna use some homemade vanilla, or you just use vanilla extract. Then you'll let the entirety mixture mix for about 5 to 7 minutes to make sure everything is well incorporated. While it's mixing, we're gonna add another 1/2 cup of milk. Once our cake batter is all mixed, we're going to grab our 9x13 pan and grease it. Then we'll pour our cake batter in. Then we'll put it in the oven for about 60 minutes. While the cake is baking, we'll make our whipped cream. First, we'll add 2 cups of heavy whipping cream and 1 cup of powdered sugar. Then, like before, we'll add in 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract and almond extract. And then we'll mix it well with the hand mixer. You don't want to overmix this. So when you start getting white, you could do this in your big mixer, but I just find it easier using a hand mixer so that way I can control it and I can see it. If you mix this too much, you will get butter. We want them to stand at attention. So they have fallen over just a little bit. Yeah, they fall over. The tips fall when we just dip and turn over, they fall. So we're probably like a medium stiff and we want stiff peak. There you go. That's better than Ready Whip. Once the cake is done baking, we'll remove it from the oven and set it aside to cool. After it is cooled for a little bit, but while it's still warm, cut out a small circle of the cake. Next, cut the cake horizontally to make room for the filling. Grab your homemade whipped cream and strawberries from the fridge. Place a bed of strawberries on the bottom of the serving plate, and then place the bottom half of the cake. Fill the middle with whipped cream, and then top it with the second half of the cake. Then, sprinkle on the strawberries with the homemade whipped cream on top. And with that, we're done. Taste test!
Wow.
That's better than a Kentucky butter cake.
This ain't like cake mix. If you go the cake mix route for this, you're doing yourself a disservice.
I've made pound cake, different kind of recipes, but never with cake flour, and never this kind. I'd do like a Kentucky butter cake. It don't taste as good as this.
The homemade whipped cream kind of pulls it all together.
This was so much fun to recreate at home. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a comment about what other Disney recipe you would like to see us recreate. And if you're still hungry for more dessert, check out this video where we made Ohana's luxurious pineapple bread pudding. And always stay magical